Hello everyone, this is Debabrata once again, and today I'm planning to take a class on the string functions. We already know what is string, so today I will show you some shortcuts. So it is going to be a easier class compared to the previous classes. So all the links and everything will be available in the detail section of this class, so you can just go through that. It will be enough. So today we will cover 4 topics in string function in Java. I have segregated all the topics into 4 parts, so you have to just go through that. And as a prerequisite, you just need to know the basic string programming. If you just revise the last class, then it will be good. And if you are gradually following my classes, class by class from the very starting, then it will be more than good. And obviously, as I always say, you just need to have some time in your hand to practice all the programs. Just to here in this chapter, what I'm planning to do, obviously we'll be using those shortcuts. These are the some ready-made functions. All the logics and everything is written by the Java developers itself. You just need to call that function and just need to use it. Is in ready-made nature. But still, I will suggest you to practice all those codes, equivalent codes, how to write that logic without using functions, because sometimes in exams or in programming round of the means in interviews, they ask like, do not use library functions. They give a statement like this: do not use the library function. If they says do not use library function, that means they are saying you cannot use the shortcut. You have to do it by your own. So today what I will do, if I go to the topic one first, so we have few string functions. So I will show you few of them. So I will try to use that in ready-made way, as well as I will try to show the equivalent logic without using that function as well. I will achieve that requirement without using this function as well. So let me show you. Let me quickly jump into our topic. Suppose string function. Let me create a class like that. Let me, okay, I'm not going to take any input because every time it is tough to take the input and it is just a waste of time. So what will I do? I will just create a ready-made string. So let me show you what I'm trying to mean. So let me take a string called S, and I will be taking something like Debabrata Guha, say. And I will be using this function. So obviously the first 2 functions are known by everyone. That is system. Suppose let me show those ready-made functions. System.println s.char I. So this is one of the important function. It is the basic one. So if I write s.char 0, so obviously it will print D. If you can remember. Let me compile and let me run. It would be D. You can see. So, and another important function is s.length, that also we have done. Again, you can take an input and test this functions, but the behavior will be same. So I'm not taking any input here. So if I print s.length, it will print the length of that string. It is 14 probably. There will be the one space and Guha, so it will be 14. So something like that. So now if I go through one by one all those functions, first if I start with trim, let me show you what it does. So if I write s.trim, trim actually removes initial and following spaces. Okay, so now from where you will get this idea what a trim does. So what can I do? I can go to Google. I have created one blog for you with the string function. You can simply go through that. I will mention the link in the description section of this class itself. So here it is, the string function. If I open that, just search with Java class string function. If I open that, we have all the functions listed here. You can see. So the first few basic functions are length and char. I have already explained that. with some memes as well, I can see. Anyway, so if I go to the trim function, so I have segregated here as per the returning statement. So all these functions from function 3 onwards will be returning string. So you can go through that. Everything is being written here, described here, everything is done. You just need to go through. So okay, let me come to the trim. So trim is saying it will not take any parameter. You can see I'm not going to give anything inside this. Parameter means I'm not going to give anything inside this. It will be blank. Returns a string after removes the, okay, let me make it large. Where is the trim? Where is the trim gone? Just a minute. Where is trim? Just give me a minute. It was there. I'm not good at this. The trim, where trim disappeared. It's not. Let me go. Let me check like this. Yeah. Yeah. You can see. Here it is, but I cannot scroll it up. Yeah, now I can scroll it up. Yeah. So trim means no parameter, returns a string after removing the initial and for following spaces. So it means if I give something like space Debabrata space Guha space, that means if I run the normal string, you can see the normal string is being printed with initial and the following spaces. But if I use s.trim, so what it will do, it will just remove the spaces at front and the spaces at the end. But it will not going to remove the spaces in between. You can see that. So I have already described that. So what it will return a string, because in return, you are going to have a string itself without spaces, a string. So output type will be string, not the return type. So here the explanation is we can clearly see that initial and the following spaces are removed, but notice that spaces in middle still exist. So you can have a description of the all the functions here one by one. So you can have a look. But for the time being, if I do the same here, if I give some initial spaces and if I give some spaces in the middle and if I give some spaces at the end and if I run, okay, first let me run with normal s and then let me run it. Okay, let me give some dots or something like that so that I can understand the spaces, because the trailing spaces cannot be means realized if you do not put any characters after that. You cannot understand what are the how many numbers of spaces are being printed there unless you use some characters after those spaces. So I'm using both of the statements, the original string and s.trim, both of them. So if I compile and if I run, you can see the first one, the original string is giving all the spaces here, you can see, and the modified string is giving, it is returning a string which is not having the initial and the following spaces, but the spaces in middle will be there. Okay, so that is the thing. So now if I want to write in this chapter, there is a chapter called string function. What you need to do in this chapter? Obviously, you have to use this ready-made function. And obviously to remember these functions, because for in my case, I sometimes forget this function, be very frank, because this function, there are a couple of list of functions available in Python, couple of functions available in Java, in C, C++, SQL, Oracle, in all the languages. So it is tough for me to remember everything. So what I do, I just follow any Google link. You can follow this blog as well. You can follow anywhere. You can simply follow those links and you can understand, okay, what are the links. So if I check in Google, even if you do not like the blog here, simply you can check in Google like string functions in, okay, in Java. I just frequently I follow this thing. So you can go to any link, you can just go through this link. So these are described here. Okay, so that's the thing. You can get all the list here. So I have mentioned only those which is equivalent, means which is significant for your syllabus. So I have mentioned those only. Okay, but still it is almost 22 functions I have mentioned here. Okay, just you can go through that simply. So now in this chapter, obviously you cannot remember. It might happen for you as well. You cannot remember all those function names. So what you need to do, you just need to write the equivalent code in using for loop and if you can write the equivalent code of this function in for loop, then you will be feeling relaxed, because if you forget even the string functions, the library function, even it is restricted to use in your programming, like you cannot use a library function, then also you will be able to write the equivalent code in for loops and if. So let me write the equivalent code without using the stream function. So what will be the equivalent code? Suppose let me have some variables like int I and j and k, suppose. And what I will do, suppose that let me write I equals to 0 and I will be till the end is dot length and I equals to I plus 1, 1 by 1 I'm progressing. If somehow s dot caret I, if it becomes space, if it becomes not equals to space, something not equals to space, in this case when d will be discovered, that is non-space. So whenever I get something which is not a space, I will break. So I will stop here. The value of I will be stopped here. I will do the same for j as well. J will be starting from the last, from this part, and I will check if the value at j is not space. If the value at j is not space, not space, not space, yeah, now I get something which is not a space. So j will stop here and I'm going to print everything from I to j. So that is my approach. So let me do the same now. Let me start from the end with j. Let me start from the end. So you will feel comfortable if you know the equivalent code in Java without using the function. That will be easier for you as well. So I will start from the last and it will be j equals to j minus 1 and it will be till 0. So whenever I will get something which is not equals to space, I will break. So at last, what will I do? I will simply run the loop from I to j and it will give me the equivalent code of using trim function. If I run, you can see system.out.println. You can test it using any input. Okay, I'm not taking input because otherwise it will be just a waste of time. So if I delete this part and if I run, okay, I compiled it, is successfully compiled. If I run, it should give me a function that is without, it should give me a return with that is without initial and following spaces. You can see I'm not able to see the initial spaces. Obviously, the following spaces will not also be there. But yeah, we cannot remove as per the logic, obviously. If we want, we can, but as per the logic of trim, the middle spaces should not be removed. And it is doing the same. So this is a good way of practice, actually. If you just try to do all the functions, just learn all the function, obviously, if you can remember, it is okay. But somewhere, if it is restricted and you forget something, so it is good. You can quickly write the for loop logic as well. So that is the thing. If I proceed to check what are the other functions we have, suppose index of and last index of. Again, everything is being mentioned here. If I go to index of and last index of, it returns integer. So it might be at the end. So part 5, function which returns integer. Integer means it returns a value only. It returns a value. Means one string parameter I need to give here. Okay, let me write the program first, then you will be able to understand. Suppose let me write Debabrata Guha itself without those spaces and all. Just simply Debabrata, one space and Guha. So if I try to run this function, suppose I have couple of a in my name. So if I run s dot index of, here I have to give a one input inside this bracket that is being called as a parameter. Okay. So if I write, I need to find the index of A. So I need to put that inside a code. So that is a one input. So if I go to this list, it is saying index of something. It might be, okay, let me give, it is saying string. So let me give some value like A in double quote. If you give single quote, that means it is character. If you give double quote, that means it is string. So it is saying input is, or parameter is, one string parameter that will search in the original string. And what it will return, it returns the position where we find the string given as a parameter. The position it returns. So that means it should return an integer. So it is taking a string input as a parameter and it is returning integer as output. Okay. So if I check few examples, obviously I will solve those examples for you. But here everything is being, a piece of code has been given, outputs are being given, and also explained what is happening here. Okay. So if I go here and if I check, what can I do? Let me think. Okay, so if I run, the first A will be available at the third position, because again string starts from 0. So it is 0 position, it is 1, it is 2, it is 3. So A is available, first A is available at 3 position. And yeah, okay, let me check that first. Let me check that first, then I will go for another option. So if I check, yeah, it is in the third, in the position 3. And I can modify it in my way. I can also find the last index of, so the function name is probably last index of something like that. If I compile and if I run, where is the, yeah, this is the blue Java code. If I run, you can see, okay, previous one. Okay, let me remove the previous one or give a enter. Otherwise, it might create some confusion. So println in the first line, in the second line, you print the last index. If I run now, so the first appearance of A is at position 3 and the last appearance is at position 13. So if I check here, so it is position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So the last day is available at 13. So now if I want to write the equivalent code using for loop, suppose I forget the syntax of index of, or I totally forget about the function name. So what I need to do, I will simply do like int I equals to 0, I less than s dot length, obviously I equals to I plus 1. The simple codes, you do not need to think about much. So what I will do, okay, let me delete all this. What I will do, I will simply check if s dot caret I equals to a. You can check it. But if a is a, suppose someone has given some string. Suppose I need to check string val equals to a. I need to check val. So I can simply write, I can use this val here as well. I can use this val here as well. Again, I need to check this val here as well. But here s dot caret I is a character. So what I need to do, first, I need to input this variable inside a C. And after that, I will compare, I will turn it into a string like string S or string V equals to C plus a string. If I write that, it will convert it into a string. Simply, a character can be converted into a string. If you just write C plus a blank, not even a space. So it converts into a string value because the compared value is in string. So I cannot compare a character with string. So I just simply convert it into string. And now I can compare like, okay, if the V equals to val, then I will say, if the v equals to val, then I will say, okay, system dot out dot println. If you found that part, just simply print the value of I. That's all. Okay, and break. You can break the loop here. Got it? But though I will mention that at the end of this class that this equals to operator is not good to use. Okay, I will mention that at the end. But this is the equivalent code of this index of. Now, someone might think some complicated situation, but I'm not going to do that. Do that in the exercise. I will check if you have done that. If needed, I will write the equivalent code in the comment section if you are not able to solve. Suppose someone is asking, I need to find BA, a string which is greater than one character. So what will happen? So here, obviously, I need to find BA. So that can be done. Even if you check the example I have given, I am searching BA in my name, in my email ID. So it is giving me BA is starting from position 2. You can see that even. D is position 0, E is position 1, and BA is starting from position 2. So you can search a string like this as well. It is not like you have to search only one character. You can search multiple characters as well. So this is the way. Okay, so you have to think what should be the logic. If you are not able to do that, let me know. I will do that in a comment section. I will paste that code. Okay, otherwise there is no meaning to make this class tough. Okay, so let it be in a simple way. What is the logic of last index of? It is very simple. You just need to start from the end and do the same thing. Okay, just do the same thing. If you find that string, just stop there. That's all. You are just iterating from the end. After doing the chapter, after finishing the chapter of string basic programming, so probably you are able to understand what I'm trying to do. So now if I proceed, and the next function is starts with. So what is that? Starts with returns a Boolean value. Let me show you first. Suppose let me write a name like Debabrata Guha, say. And now let me write something system.out.println. Suppose s dot starts with, say. So s dot starts with de, means is it starting with de? Answer is yes. If I compile and if I run, it will say, yeah, Debabrata Guha, the name or the string is starting with de. So it will return true or false. So you can see, okay, it is saying false. Why false? That there might be some case sensitive thing. Yeah, it is not starting with D capital E. It is starting with D small e. Let me run that as well. So if I run D small e, and if I check, so the first one should give me false, and the second one should give me true because it is starting with D and small e. So yeah, it was a good one. So let me check. Let me run this code. So it should return false for the first statement because it is not starting with capital D, capital E. But the second statement is true. It is starting with capital D and small e. Okay, so that's correct. So you can see it is returning true or false. So if I go to my blog and if I check what are the functions which is returning true or false, which is returning Boolean. If I check those functions, so that should be a part of part 3, I guess. Yeah, part 3, functions which returns Boolean true or false. You can see the example of starts with. If I go up, yeah, you can see. So Debabrata, A starts with D, it is returning true. A starts with D small e, it is returning true. A starts with small d, it is returning false because it is not starting with the small d, it is capital D. And A starts with S, it is totally false because Debabrata is not starting with S. So it is totally false. And all the explanations are also given. You can see here the string, one string parameter I am giving. So parameter type is string because inside the bracket, you can see I am providing some string inside double quote. And what it is returning? It is returning Boolean, means true or false. So that is the input and that is the output you will be getting. So all the logics are written inside of this function by the Java developers, the core Java developers. So what I will try to do, I will try to incorporate the same thing, same logic using for loop. In your exercise as well, it will be your task to convert these logics using for an if. So suppose I'm going to search the val and I have written val as de. Suppose de small e. So it should return true. So what I will do now, I will do something for int I equals to 0. Again, I should copy this line. Otherwise, I have to write it multiple times. The same thing. I need to traverse through the string. And what I will do, every time I will check for int j. Suppose here in de, we have two characters. So I will simply take j equals to 0. Or what I can do, let me think. So let me think. I can write something. I can write something like int f equals to suppose 1. Suppose something like that. Int f equals to 1. If j equals to 0, j less than val dot length and j equals to j plus 1. So what I will do, I will compare if somehow h dot caret I, we have done enough programming in for loop, in string, we have done enough. So we can think about this logic, val dot caret, if somehow it is, they are not equal, I will mark them. I am considering they are equal at first. Suppose I am saying those are equal. String s equals to, suppose I am saying true. They are equal. Suppose if somehow not s, let me take it like result equals to true. If somehow they are not going to be equal, what I'm trying to do, I'm just marking them as false. Something like that. I am marking them as false and I can simply break that inner loop. Okay. And so I will keep checking like that. I will keep checking like that. If somehow result is true, okay, and let me do one thing. Let me move it into int f equals to 1. If somehow uh, it is not equal, I will turn them into f equals to 0 and break. And again, I will keep checking. So somehow if f equals to 1 at the end, that means all the characters are same. So I will print, okay, if f equals to 1 somehow, I will break this loop. I will simply break this loop. And at the end, if somehow f equals to 1 I got, then what I will do, I will simply write, I will simply print system.out.println. I will simply print true. Otherwise, I will simply print false. So let me explain what I have done. Let me also check if this code is running or not. So just let me do one thing. Let me introduce f outside. That's all. So what I'm doing here, why it is giving error now, variable f might not have been initialized. Okay, let me initialize that 1, say. So I am doing f equals to 1. I am considering both the strings are equal. Now I'm going through each character of the val, and if some of the characters are not going to match, or simply I can do one thing. Just simply I can do one thing. It is something like starts with. So I can delete everything. It is that simple. So yeah, it is that simple. I can simply use this. F equals to 1. I'm going to check two characters because in DE we have two characters. So I'm going to simply check these two characters with these two characters. So I'm starting from 0 till 1. I'm checking if somehow they are not equal. If they are not equal, I'm marking them as in f equals to 0. If at the end, the value of f is still 1, then I can say I found those characters at the starting of the original string. That means DE both are matching if it is still 1. If somehow they are not matching, f will become 0 and I'm going to print false. That is the way. Okay, so something I have done wrong. Okay, yeah, there was one extra bracket. So here, okay, let me compare it with J itself. If I run this code, if you are not able to understand, let me know in the comment section. I will again try to describe. Let me put some other value now, suppose D capital E. And if I run this same program, D and capital E, you can see it is returning false. So what I'm doing again, if I explain. So again, for your work purpose, you do not need to write this equivalent code in for loop, just for the exercise, just to make you understand what is actually happening inside starts with function. Because in general, you will be using it in a ready-made way. You do not need to write the for loop. You will just write s dot starts with D, s dot starts with D, something like that. But here I am trying to write the original code itself. So you can see I have started from 0 to 1 because val means DE. So I'm just checking two characters. So initially f equals to 1. If somehow the characters like E, small e and capital E doesn't match, so f will become 0. At the end, I'm checking if f is still 1, that means they are same. If somehow f equals to 0, like in this case, it will print false. Because obviously D small e and D capital E are not same. So you can write equivalent codes like this. So same, we have something like ends with, that is comparing the characters at the end. So if I go to the block quickly, this is the end with function, one string parameter again, and we will search at the ending of the original string. If it is found, then I will return true, otherwise I will return false. So input is string, output is boolean. You can simply go through all the logic. Okay, we have also the codes as well. Yeah, you can see the code. If I go up, you can see the code as well. Yeah, so Debabrata ends with A, yes, then it is true. Ends with TA, yes, it is true. Ends with capital A, yes, no, it is false. Debabrata ends with S, of course not, it is false. So I have shared one sample code as well. You can go through that. So if I go to this one, replace, what is the replace? Replace is also something which returns a string. So let me show you. So replace is something in ready-made way. If I do it quickly, string s equals to Debabrata Guha, and if I write s dot replace, suppose I want to replace all the a with x. Suppose, let me do that. All the a, I'm going to replace that with x. So if I run, okay, let me put the bracket here. Yeah. So all the a, I'm trying to replace that with x. If I compile that, yeah, compiled. If I run, so you can see something weird. Yeah, all the a is being replaced by x. So either you can give two characters. How can you understand the characters? It is in single quote. It is in single quote. So characters are in single quote. Okay. Either you can give a string as well. A string means I can write all the a, suppose here, will be replaced by xyz, something like that. So obviously I cannot replace a character with a string. So in this case, if I write this and if I try to compare, if I try to compile, it will give an error. Either you have to give both of them a string or both of them are character. So here xyz is more than one character, so it should be a string, and I have to use double quote. So same in the first part as well. So if I put both of them under double quote and if I run this code, so all the a will be replaced by xyz. Just check, it's pretty weird. So in case of Debabrata, in place of a, it is printing xyz. That's all. That's all. So if I go to the code here, replace, yeah, you can see either the parameter will be char, both of them will be character, or both of them will be string. But in return, it will return a string. So that's the thing. Let me show you the equivalent code for character inputs. I'm not going to do that for integer. If I do the same for characters, means I'm going to replace a with x, what will happen? And in as a homework, you can try to replace the string as well. It will be the similar in nature. So what can I do if I want to do the same thing? So simply, again, for int I equals to 0, I less than is dot length equals to I plus 1. Simply, if s dot caret I is somehow a, I'm not going to print that. Suppose let me take some other variable, string result or something like that, or let me simply print that. It will be good. Do not need to store the output. If you want to print, just simply print. So I'm just going to print system.out.println. You can also store the value somewhere as well if you need. But here I'm not going to store it somewhere. I'm just going to print. If I found a, I'm going to print x in simple logic. If I found anything else, I'm just going to print that character itself. I'm not going to replace. The logic is clear, I guess. If in any position, if I find a, I'm going to print x. I'm not going to print a. Instead of a, I'm going to print x. But if I get anything else instead of a, I'm going to print that exact character. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to print the exact character. But only for a, I'm going to print x. That's all. If I run. Okay. Let me remove this one. So if I compile and if I run once again, you can see in place of a, I am getting all the x. And that is the requirement itself. So these are pretty much functions. I have explained 5 or 6 functions. You can go through any link in Google to check what are the other functions you have. So if I go to the next slide, and this is topic 2, we have topic 4 topics. So now let me move it very quickly. So topic 2, string functions with case changing feature. So suppose 2 uppercase, what will be the logic for 2 uppercase, and what is the way to write 2 uppercase? So suppose I have a string like Debabrata Guha. What I'm trying to do, let me write simply, let me use this ready-made function simply system.out.println. Let me write s dot to uppercase. If I do that, all the strings quickly, just by writing one line, everything, all the strings, either it is in already in uppercase or not, if it is in smaller case, everything, even it is space, means all the logics are written by Java code developers itself. So everything will be converted to the uppercase. If I show you, you can see everything is being turned into uppercase. All of them are being taken care by the Java developers itself. But I cannot resist myself to show you the equivalent code in for loop. If you suppose forget the syntax, suppose you forget the syntax in Python, or if you forget the syntax in other languages or in Java itself, so what will be the logic? For loop logic will always be same in all the languages. So to whom I have done the offline classes, you must be gone through the Python classes after doing the Java. It takes only 5 minutes to do the Python, and you have a clear idea that the logic of Python and Java or any other languages, C, C++, all of them are exactly same, the logic. Okay, so the logic should be the same. So now what I will do, if simply s.caret I is small characters, is lower in is lowercase, means if it is somehow greater than 97, it is in between 97 and 122. Suppose if it is in lowercase, that means if it is in between 97 and 122. If you forget the ASCII code, simply write if it is in between small a and small z. What I will do, I will simply print system.out.println. I will simply print cat. I will convert that, and it will be simply s.caret I minus 32, because you probably remember we have done this type of coding in our string assignments. So the ASCII code of the lowercase character, suppose ASCII code of small a is 97. and the ASCII code of a capital A is 65. So we just need to do minus 32 to convert a lowercase to uppercase. So I'm doing the same thing here. So if it is in between small a or capital small a and small z, if it is in lowercase, I will convert it into upper. Otherwise, for all other cases, just print the character, whatever it is. It might be a space, it might be a capital letter, it might be anything. Just print that character. Do not need to convert, do not need to do anything. If it is in lowercase, then only convert. Otherwise, print whatever you have. So if I run this code, and it should be the equivalent code of uppercase. Let me run this. Yeah, it can also print a string in the uppercase. Okay, probably you got that idea. And if I show you the same thing in our blog, it is returning a string. So it should, okay, it should be somewhere. Yeah, here you can see. Here as well, you do not need to give anything as a parameter, because inside the bracket you can see you do not need to mention anything. It is just simple to uppercase. That's all. And if you run to lowercase, everything will be converted into lowercase. It is pretty much simple. And if you forget even, you can write the equivalent code. And in the exercise of this chapter, you have to write the equivalent code. If you face any problem or at the time of writing the equivalent code in using for loop, just let me know. I will try to share the codes with you. So equal, ignore case, something like that. So first, let me explore what is equal. What is equal? Suppose I have given string s, suppose Debabrata. Let me make it short. Or let me make it very short. Let me use my surname only, Guha, suppose. And if I write something string s1 equals to Guha as well. I was saying just few minutes back, it is not good to use equals to in case of string. So let me explain that once again. So if I write s1 equals to s2, it should return true. Guha is equals to Guha, obviously. So if I run, so you can see it is returning true, means Guha equals to Guha, obviously. But not always it is true. If I define a string in this way, a string can be defined in this pattern as well, and everything else will be same. You cannot, means you don't be puzzled like what will happen if I declare a string in this way. It will be same. Whatever we have done till now, it will work in the same way. Just the initialization is different. I am initializing s1 in a simple way and s2 in some object type of way. I will show you in the later classes what I'm trying to mean by object. But for the time being, I can introduce a string in both the ways. So now if I check system.out.println s1 equals to s2, the behavior of both are exactly same. But if I am trying to compare them, it should return false. Though it contains the same value, but still it will show an error. Okay, it show false. So now if I introduce this string as well in this similar pattern, and you might think like, okay, these two strings now will be saying true. It will return true. But now if I check again, it will again return false. Because this equals to are not able to compare a string successfully. It compares everything. But I do not need to compare everything. I just need to compare the value, how it is being created, what is the object, what are the other details. I do not need to check. I just need to check the value. If the value are same, I am okay to print true. I do not care about anything else. So in that case, if you are looking for the only value comparison, you can simply write s1 dot equals s2. So equal is an important function. I have mentioned that at the end of the slide itself, but equals is an important function. So if I run that now, it should return false. It should return true now, because values are matching. You can see it is returning true because the values are matching. So you always, it is preferred, always it is preferred, not preferred, it is mandatory to use equal. Otherwise, you might face some unnecessary errors. You in the middle of the 1,000-line code, you will not be able to understand where exactly it is failing. So it is better to use equals always instead of those equals to sign. So now if I write something like Guha, something like this. So now it will say obviously false because Guha is in first Guha is in capital, second Guha is in small. So it cannot compare. So obviously it will return false. Let me show you. Yeah, it is returning false. So the good idea is to use equal ignore case. Sorry, something I have clicked. Equal ignore case. If I run that, if I add this thing ignore case, that means it will ignore the cases. And if I run this program now, it will return true. Because if you ignore the case, both the strings are same. Both the strings are Guha. And now someone might think like, okay, can it be applied for the strings like this? No, we can apply it anywhere. Let me make it simple. Again, the string definitions can be done in multiple way, either in this way or in the earlier way. But the principle, working principle and everything else is just same. You do not need to think about that. What will happen if I declare a string in this way? Nothing will happen. It is same. It is just about the declaration. And you can see here also it is printing true the same way. Okay, so that is equals ignore case function, and that deals with the cases. So if I quickly move into the topic 3, because these are the small topics, we are left with 2 more topics. So topic 3 is few functions which deals with array. So first one is split. So split is very easy. So suppose, let me introduce some name like suppose binary world, suppose. Okay, let me take an example from the blog itself. In the blog you can see something like that. Here it is. Where? Yeah, part 4 that deals with arrays. Okay, so if I go to the split function 17, so let me take the same example and let me explain. Okay, where is that? Yeah, so it is taking a string like binary hyphen world space Debabrata space Guha. So what I can do the same thing, binary world. Okay, let me make it small, or it is not needed to give everything in capital. So binary world and a space called Debabrata Guha. So, and I can introduce an array that will be something new, and I will discuss more in the next chapter. What is array of string? So let me introduce an array. Let me take the name from here. Yeah, let me introduce an array of string. I'm just showing the use of this function. You can simply write s.split. I want to split it with respect to spaces. So it will split this string into 2 parts. In the first part, it will be binary world, and in the second part, it will be Debabrata Guha on the basis of space. If I run this string, the array of string int I equals to 0, I will explain what is string array at the end. But if I run this for the time being, if I run this all the elements of this array, just take a look what will happen. You can try to write the equivalent code in for loop as well, but for the timing, I'm not writing the equivalent code. I'm just trying to print what has been stored inside the A array. So I will just show you all the elements of the array A. So if I run this, so it should have 2 values. One is binary world and another is Debabrata Guha. Okay, got it. So now, if I want to split it with respect to hyphen, then it will be split into 3 parts. So first part will be binary, then a hyphen. Second part will be world Debabrata, and then again a hyphen, and at last it will be a Guha. So how many hyphen I will get, it will be the original string will be splitted in that manner. It depends on the occurrence of hyphen. So now if I run the same program, it will print the 3 values. So it is a ready-made way by which you can easily split an array. If you can remember, we have done the same thing in the last chapter when I used to collect the words from a string. So if you can simply mention I need to split it by using space, it will be automatically done. I do not need to write that tough code. And we have already written the equivalent code of this in the last class itself, where I was taking, if you can remember, I was forming the words one by one. Whenever I'm getting a space, I am printing the word and I'm clearing the word, if you can remember. So it is an easiest way to collect those words from a string. So you can use the split function, and this split function deals with the arrays. You can see what are the else functions. So it is another function is to-char array. It returns simply characters, the list of characters, all the characters inside a character array. So I can simply write all these arrays, and everything is being discussed in our next class. So you can just go through that to have a clear idea. For the time being, I am storing them in a character array. So it is a character array. I have already dealt with integer arrays. So today I have shown you a few examples of string array, though we will be having a good examples of programs in our next class, where we are going to deal with the multiple string arrays, multiple characters arrays. We will try to sort them out. We will make them in ascending order, in descending order. So you can go through that and the idea will be more clear. But for the time being, we have something like that in ready-made way. Someone already created that for us. So we just need to use that in ready-made way. So just you need to know what is happening here. So if I compile and if I run, it should print all the characters separately, and it should store all the characters in that array. You can see all the characters are being stored in an array of characters. And you do not need to write any for loop for that. You can simply use this to-char array function. I am using this for loop just to print those values. If I do not use still also just by this simple function, a ready-made way, all the values are being stored inside a. For printing purpose, I'm using that for loop, but it is just a small one line. It just return array of characters. Okay. So that is our topic 3. It is pretty much simple. If I go through, just you need to practice all of them once by yourself. That is required. Otherwise, you will be confused with all those names. Even it confused me as well. I cannot remember, frankly speaking, I cannot remember all the names. I have a very small memory for those. So now topic 4, few important functions. The first one is compare to. So let me show you the important function, compare to, substring, and equals. That's all for the day. So equals we have already checked. That is quite important. I need to mention that once again. If I check last two part, like compare to and substring, how it works, let me show you. Compare to, how it works. I have mentioned that in our blog as well, but for the time being, let me show you. If I write something called apple, S1, and if I write something S2 as Dapple, suppose something, I don't know what does that mean. It means nothing, but still APPL and BPPL, something like that. So if I run system.out.println, and if I write S1 dot compare to S2, let me make it a name like S2. Yeah. So what it will do, when at the time of comparison, it always check the first difference. So where it always checks the first difference. So let me write that statement. It always checks the first difference. So here, where the first difference is in the first character itself. So it is starting with A. So the ASCII code of A is 65. And next one, where it is getting the difference here, it is B. So here, the ASCII code of B is 66. So always imagine a big minus in place of compare to. Otherwise, I used to forget that in my college life. But after that, I started imagining in this way. It might be a stupid one for you, but still, you can try this way. Just imagine a big minus here. Big minus. So it means in place of compare to, always imagine a big minus. So if I imagine that a big minus, it is saying S1 minus S2. So that means 65 minus 66, and it will return -1. I imagine in this way. Okay, if I run, so this function should return -1. What if I write CPPLE? So it should return S1 minus, imagine a minus in place of compared to. So S1, a big minus like this, S1 minus S2. So apple and simple. So something like that, 67. C start, the ASCII code of C is 67. So 65 minus 67, it should return -2. Okay, so let me first write that. Minus will not work here. We just need to imagine. So if I run this function, it should return -2. Okay, got it. Now someone might think some other examples like it. What if I write cricket, and what if I write football? So obviously, where is the first difference? Cricket and football is totally different. So in place of C, if I the first difference is in this position, C and F. So cricket starts with C. C means let me think, 67 ASCII code, and football means DEF means 68, 69, 70, I guess. Yeah. So if I imagine a big minus, S1 minus S2 means 67 minus 70, it should return -3. You can use any character. It might be cricket and football as well. There is no match between cricket and football, and it is -3. So should it always return minus? No. If I give S2 compared to S1, or if I revise the value, so that now S2 minus S1 means 70 minus 67, and it will return 3. Now the +3. If I run, yeah, you can see +3. What will happen if we have some common characters like cricket, and suppose here I can write crack? So here, what is the first difference? C and R, both are same. So first difference is in this position, I and A, suppose. So I, the value of I is, I do not know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, 65, 66, 7, 8, 9, 71, 2, 3. I guess the I means 73. Okay, I'm not that good in counting, but it might be 73. And A is 65, obviously. Where I got the first difference. I got the first difference between I and A. First two characters are same. In this case, if I write 61, S1 dot compared to S2, that means if I imagine minus, so S1 minus S2 means 73 minus 65. So that means 8, I guess. So if I run, it should, if I do the calculation correctly, so it should return 8. Yeah, it is returning 8. Got it? So you can use any examples like this. So now there might be some situation like this as well. Suppose we have something apple juice, and we have something like apple. In this case, obviously all the characters are same, apple and apple. So first difference I am getting in this position, J, but we do not have anything here to compare. We do not have anything here to compare because the string 2 is ended. So in this case, I will compare the length. If it is done, then I will compare the length. So apple juice, the length is 10. And here apple length is 5. So here it is asking for S1 minus S2 in place of compared to, just imagine a minus. So it means 10 minus 5, and it should return 5. If I show you, it should return 5. Yeah. And if I do the reverse, it should show -5. If I write S2 dot compared to S1, it should show -1, because apple minus apple juice. Obviously, there is no character to compare. Actually, no, there is no character that we can compare. So we need to go for the length. Okay, we need to go for the length. If I go to the blog, and if I check few examples here, it is returning integer. So it should be at the end. Just give me 1 minute to find that compared to, yeah. Here you can see. So if I compare India with India, so okay, if everything match, then it will be 0. If I compare India with India, it is 0. If I compare S1 with S3, means India with Estonia. Estonia was the second place where I lived. Actually, it is a country name. Most of the people do not know it is a country. And after leaving India, this is the first place where I lived actually. So anyway, I'm not going to introduce myself. So it is India and Estonia. So what is the place where it get the first difference? That is I and E. So I and E. So the ASCII character of I is something I got already 73, and the ASCII character of E is something 69, I guess. So if I minus 73 minus 69, it will be 4. Okay, something like that. Obviously, I have given some description as well. Yeah, here it. Sorry, where is the description? I cannot handle all this, but let me find the, yeah, you can see S1 and S2 are same. Both are India, so return 0. Here, S1 compared to S3 means India minus Estonia. Just imagine a minus here. It is my trick. I am following, I always follow this way. It is not a standard one, but if you follow that way, at least you do not need to remember, because these questions are quite frequent in the output round. Suppose if anyone gives you a code and says like what will be the output of this code. So these codes will be helpful to get numbers or to get some marks in the output round. Okay. Suppose the code is written, but you just need to show the output. You just need to write the output. And those situations, these examples will be helpful. So here, obviously 73 minus 69 equals to 4. You can clearly see that. If I go up, if I do the reverse, S3 dot compared to S1, so obviously it will be minus 4. Now, if I have two string like India and Korea, I and K, so there will be difference 2 I, J, K, so it will be minus 2, because India is at the start and Korea S4 at the end. So S1 minus S4, India minus Korea means I minus K, it will be minus 2. If I take Indonesia, so the first difference between India and Indonesia is this I and this O. So just you need to take the difference between I and O, and that is minus 6, because I appears first and O appears last. So in case of S1, I just need to imagine India or I, and in compared to as A or O, sorry, Indonesia's O. So everything is being described here. And now the last part is India and Indiana. So here it will be same like apple and apple juice. We do not have any string. We do not have any character to compare, because India will be done. It is finished. So we are just left with N and A. So now I will go for the length. So the India's length is 5 and Indiana's length is 7. So it will be 5 minus 7, that is minus 2. Just go through that. If you are not able to understand, I will explain. I will try to explain that. So if I come to the last part, that is substring. Substring is another function that is quite commonly used. So simply, if I take one example again, let me choose my name itself. That will be easier for me. So if I write my name inside the variable s, and if I simply write s dot substring, suppose 2 or 3 to 5. What does that mean? So here actually, if I go to the notepad, here actually, as we all know, string always starts from 0. So it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So first character means 3 means it will start from 3. Means it will start from here. And 5 means you have to wrap up before 5. Means until 4. So here I will be starting from 3 and before 5. So I will take, it will print the value as AB from my name. If I compile and if I run, this code should return AB. And that is the working principle of substring as I described. So the first position denotes the starting, and the second position denotes the ending. And it is not inclusive, means you have to end it before 5, not at 5. You have to end it before 5. If I write 6, then it will fetch characters from 3, 4, and 5 position. So if I check what are the characters from 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, so it is ABR. Again, it is starting from 3 and ending before 6. So first character means the starting position, and the next character means ending character, but before that character. Okay. So 3 to 5 means ABR should be printed. Let me show you. If I compile and if I run, ABR should be printed. If I show you, yeah, ABR is being printed. So now, if you do not give the second character, then everything starting from character 3 will be printed. So what is character 3? Character 3 is A. So everything starting from character 3 will be printed. So Abrata will be printed. Okay, pretty weird name, but still. So if I start from 3 and print everything, then Abrata will be printed. I described why. So if I run to check the output, it should be like that, Abrata. Okay, something like that. So this is another use of another function, that is substring, and that is quite important. If I go to the blog, you can get substring somewhere. Let me check where is substring. It returns a string. Okay, substring also returns a string or a parts of the string. Okay, so if I show you, yeah, here it is. I have already described with some examples. Just go through that. Hope you will be clear with that. Okay, clear with the idea. So just remember one thing, string always starts from 0. Okay, string, the position always starts from 0. So that's all for the day. So these are the string functions. I have explained a lot, but in your case, you just need to use that in ready-made way, and it will be very good if you can remember all those functions. For me, I cannot simply remember all those functions, so I just always go to Google, because in your workplace, no one is going to restrict you to check Google. So it is good if you check Google, but you need to know when to use which function we need to use. So when to use, compared to when to use substring, you just need to have an idea on that. Syntax is not an issue. So if I go to our group where we can find the corresponding exercise. So if I go to our group media and album, as always, if I go to the first album coding exercise basic, and you can get some exercise called 8.2. Let me check where it is. Character string 8.1, 8.2, I guess. Yeah, this is our string function chapter. So you can get some examples like, okay, str length, like in C++, in length, it is in string, it is in Java. So whenever it is written like in Java here, you can go through that function. Here, like it is compared to, you can see it is in Java. If you can see my cursor in Java. So do not, it is the equivalent function name in C and C++. And that is the reason I cannot remember much, because it is, the name is different. It is strcmp in C++. In Java, it is being called as compared to. Okay, so something like that. You can get all the exercises here, and just you need to write. We have already done replace function today in Java, C++. The name is common. So you just need to use that function once, and after that, you just need to write the equivalent code in this exercise. So that's all actually for the day. You can go through all this and let me know if you are facing any single problem, or if you are not able to write the equivalent code in for loop. Just let me know. I will try to answer those. Okay. So that's all for the day. In the next class, we will meet with some new chapter of string, probably the last conclusion of the string, where I will show you some examples of string arrays, some examples of how to convert it from integer to string, how to show string buffers. So those examples, just few rest of the topics I will discuss in the next class. But for the time being, it is a good chapter to learn, good chapter to go through. All of these are created in a ready-made way. You do not need to put your logic in reality, in the real time. You just need to use it in ready-made way. That's all. Bye for the day.